I'm going to introduce the keynote speaker, a person who I am incredibly happy to call a friend. Dara Feldman is, if you have ever met Dara, she is the most enthusiastic person, and especially about character and virtues. She is an internationally recognized educator, I'm not going to read it all, and speaker. Dara's life goal is to transform our schools and systems that support them, transform them into support systems, environments that embrace love of learning with the recognition of self-worth. And honestly, when you will meet her in a few minutes, and you will absolutely feel the passion that she has for character. Dara was on the board. She was the president of the Maryland Center for Character Education, and she has literally traveled the globe talking about the Virtues Project and talking about all the things that are right with young people, focusing on the positive, helping to eliminate the negative. So without further ado, a friend, a passionate educator, and an advocate and champion for character education. Hold on, Dara Feldman. Thank you.
In the spirit of hope, engagement, and well-being, I hope that you all stretched this morning, because we're going to have a little workout to get this party started. And I'm going to invite my friends and volunteers up here. So thank you for your courageous and willingness to be here. Now, in a moment, well-being was to get the vibration up, to raise your spirits, to raise the energy, and to help us to develop unity. And that's what that was about. So, I have a couple of central questions for you, being that recovering Montgomery County Public Schools educator that I am. Do you want to bring more joy, meaning, and purpose back to teaching and learning? To really balance that academic rigor while honoring the whole child? How many of you all are with me? All right, awesome. Are you open to learning the language of character so that you can live, love, and learn in a more authentic way? Anybody? Yeah, good? Well, I hope so, because that's what we're going to be doing for the next 40 minutes. Before we get started, I really want to congratulate all of you for your excellence and your commitment to character education. I know, having been a classroom teacher for 16 years, then working at central office for 5 years, and traveling around the country and the world, that there's really traditionally not a lot of support. So what I want to do with you is I want to share some personal stories with you in hopes that you'll relate and that you'll take from my stories the teachings and be able to use them in your personal life, in school with your students and your colleagues, and out in the community. But before we get started, I'd like to start by connecting our head and our heart. Many of you may have already seen this video. How many of you all have seen it? Okay, a couple people who has not seen it, a majority. So I'm going to invite you to look at this video and to think about what comes to mind. And then as soon as the video stops, you'll have a minute just to talk with folks at your table about whatever came to your head and your heart. 5 seconds. 4, 3, Thank you for your enthusiastic participation and willingness to connect with each other. Sorry, because of time, we're not going to have a chance to let people share, but I'm wondering how many people saw that as just a slight shift in perspective. Similar to the analogy of either looking at the glass as half empty or half full. And so that's the purpose of our time this morning, is I'm going to not teach you anything new. You've been speaking since you were babbling and forever. But it's going to be a slight shift in how we normally communicate. So here is your pre-assessment. True or false? Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me. True or false? False, absolutely. How many of you have ever experienced hurtfulness from words? All of us. If you're human, that happens. And oftentimes, the people who hurt us the most, they A, don't really know, that's not their intention, and they're the people who love us the most. First personal story. So, that's me and my mom, about 50 years ago. Anyways, and so my mom, all she ever wanted me to know was that she loved me. Now, unfortunately, when I was 5, some things happened. My personal sacred wound was when I was sexually abused by the babysitter next door. I was 5. And as a result, I had all this shame and I didn't know what to do with it. I thought it was my fault. And as a way to protect myself, I started eating. Eating to numb those feelings, to protect myself so nobody would ever be able to get close enough and hurt me. A couple years later, my mom had her first bout of breast cancer. And about 48 years ago, she thought she was going to die. Not everybody survived. And then she had a second bout of breast cancer. And then she was starting her PhD. And oh, by the way, starting alcoholism. At about 3rd grade, I started feeling all those feelings. And everything started to take What virtue are you calling me to? Obedience? Oh, goodness. Okay, and the clicker goes down. Anyways, most of your hands were up. So you can't say that what you do every day doesn't make a difference. You may not know the impact that you have on the lives that you touch, but it's life-changing. And that teacher who made a difference in your life just like you, think, it's not just one child, because how many lives have you touched over the course of your career? And for new teachers, how many lives will you touch? So I love talking to educators. I talk to business people, I talk to parents, I talk to communities. I get the opportunity to speak all over the world. But you know what? As Dorothy Gale said, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Being right here with you in Maryland, committed Maryland educators to character development. And so again, I'm sharing some personal stories because I think you can probably relate. And if you can't relate to the sexual abuse, then 1 in 3 can relate to the alcoholism. And we don't need to say any more. So now shifting from your own personal backgrounds to the kids in our classrooms. When they are acting out, it doesn't really have necessarily anything to do with us. But we can either empower them or we can escalate them. And when we escalate them and we send them out, what message does that send to them? And I know you all don't do that. When we choose to suspend kids, what message does that send to them? And when they're out playing those video games or doing drugs or whatever they're doing, and they come back, they've missed all that learning. How can we expect them to be successful? And so, for those people who aren't as blessed, knowing that character development is important, knowing that relationships matter, first and foremost, who give up on kids and do the suspension thing, they're sending our kids either straight to prison, the school-to-prison pipeline, or worse, to death. And that's why today I want to help you see a different perspective in our language and to be really, really conscious. So there's my mom. She's a psychologist, right? And all she ever wanted was for me to know that I'm loved. So this is what she would say. I love you, but your room's too dirty. I love you, but your grades are terrible. I love you, but you didn't do this. And I love you unconditionally. Is there a problem with that? So here's the first shift I'm going to invite you to. Please, think about that word, but. Now, you said I could be authentic, right? Pardon me for being a little bit graphic here. And so you can use this in high school. I want you to think about your butt. I'm sorry. Think about what comes out. I know it's really graphic, but I want to make a point because it's really important. Anything that we say prior to the butt, it turns it to, are you with me? Okay? Oh, this is great paper, but you should have. Okay? Well, it's you that you turned in your homework, but you could have turned it in on time. It takes away that positive. So we can replace that but with what word? You got it. We can replace it with and. Does that make sense? Okay? All right, so one other little teaching before we get into the language of virtues. Can't go anywhere without the Yoda. We need some wisdom here. And so, everything is energy, right? Words are vibration. As a recovering kindergarten teacher, I thought high frequency words were things like a, the, is, and those are those high frequency words because we see them frequently. However, high frequency words are those character traits. Steadfastness, gratitude is really up here. Courage. Low vibration words take people to shame, from that place of shame and fear. And when you're coming from a place of shame and fear, you're going to meet resistance different lens. We get to see all those positive character qualities in them and really notice them. Okay, this didn't work. No smiles, no laughter. Put myself out there, but that's okay. In Brazil, they laughed. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so this word, if we said, hey, let's try to get together for lunch, is it going to happen? No. Yeah, probably not. Let's make a commitment to get together for lunch. Chances of that happening? Better, right? So as the notice says, do or do not do. There is no try. Because when a student goes back and tries, if they don't have steadfastness, perseverance, determination, if they don't know that they have those character qualities in them, they're going to try for about how long? 5 minutes if you're lucky, 5 seconds if you're not, right? So there is no try. Let's do, let's commit, and let's create those relationships that will make it possible. All right, cartoon time. I like how Bonnie's not stepping on my last nerve. Now, I confessed that I'm an old lady, and so in 1984, I was taught for my classroom management to say, I like the way that you're sitting quietly, I like the way that you're working, I like. But what does that do to our kids? Set them up for what? It could set them up for failure, but it sets them up for wanting more praise. Oh, give me, I want the teacher to like me, I'm going to do it because the teacher likes me. Or the teacher's not watching, now I don't have to do it anymore, right? And so that's why we're going to be really specific with our language. Okay, so I'd like you to take a second and give the people at your table a compliment. Actually, 30 seconds, go.
You got great hair.
Thank you for your cooperation and respect. Stopping talking right away. I really do appreciate it. So how many of you enjoy getting compliments? Raise your hand. Be honest. Hands down. How many people think like sometimes it makes them feel really uncomfortable? Okay? So it depends. So if a compliment is inauthentic, oh, they're just trying to be nice, right? Well, what do you want from me? You know, or you're just trying to make me feel better. And here's where it really is a problem. If you're going to give a compliment and say, wow, you're really smart, or that was really courageous, and that student or that adult doesn't feel it, then it's going to create that, or it can create that cognitive dissonance. And it can actually do more harm than good. Does that make sense? Okay? And my daughter, oh my gosh, she is so creative. She's 23 now. When she was younger, she would dance all the time. She would put music together. She painted. She wrote songs. She played the guitar. She did all these cool things. And I would say, Deanna, you're so creative. And it wasn't until after I started doing this work in the language I'm going to teach you in a little bit that she said to me, you know what, Mom? I never felt creative. And it really didn't help when you said, oh, you're so creative. In fact, it made it worse because I didn't give her that evidence. And she had similar things happen to her. In fact, her dad, my ex-husband, died as a homeless alcoholic. And so, even though my daughter was really creative, she didn't act out. Let me tell you those stories about I just sit next to the teacher in 6th grade because I wouldn't shut my mouth. And she kept asking me to call it self-discipline, but she forgot to teach me what self-discipline looked like. And so I would still be writing notes and throwing them to my friends. We teach what we need to learn. That's why I do this work. Anyways, so this language is really, really powerful, and you'll see in just a moment. So as educators, we're taught to give timely and specific feedback. When we use the language of virtues, it's timely, specific, and meaningful feedback. All right, so now I have a question for you. I'm going to invite you to actively engage with me. How many of you all have that committee in your head? You know the one that says, oh my God, I'm so stupid, I can't believe, right? You don't have shift. Wow, you had a lot of courage to go on TV. I really didn't want to do that. And you showed a lot of enthusiasm. You probably could have been a little more tactful and had some self-discipline when we're talking about Oprah. And that's when I realized that really this language is powerful. So I'm going to invite you to fire the old committee and invite the new committee in. Would you be willing to do that? So you can either say it out loud or say it to yourself or not say it at all, but repeat after me if you're willing. Dear committee, thank you for your commitment being with me all these years. I no longer need your generosity of service, shaming and blaming me, and so I ask you to please kindly see yourself out. Thank you for your cooperation. How do you feel? Great. Good. I'm a little bit nervous because we just lost a committee and I'm in a room with a bunch of airheads now. There's nothing there. No, just kidding. Bad joke. Sorry. Didn't mean it. But we need to elevate something to our consciousness. So we're going to replace that negativity with gifts of character, with virtues. And so now we're going to welcome a new committee. Dear committee, thank you for your patience. Waiting for me to call on you. I know you've been with me all these years. I make the commitment to now see myself through the lens of virtues and everyone else. Good? You good? Better? Awesome. Okay. Next cartoon. So this language works with classroom management also. And I'm going to be really respectful of the boundaries of time. So it's in the handouts, it's the third strategy, but it's basically taking, we started out in education early on saying, do not run, do not, do not, do not. And the last thing they hear is what you don't want them to do, so of course they do it, right? And then we went and we got all positive. Please keep your hand and feet to yourself. Please use a quiet voice, walk them home. When we start with the virtues, these can apply to so many mistaken behaviors that happen, and it becomes transferable skills. I did a process with my own children and husband, and with my kindergartners. Can I tell you the shift that it made? Have you all ever heard the poem about the fence?
Yes.
Okay, so basically the quick story is a father's talking to his son, and the son has just been saying some negative things, so he has him hammer and a bunch of nails. For everything that you said or you hurt somebody's feelings. And then he says, okay, pull the nails out. But what's left when you pull the nails out? Holes. So the damage is already done. It's really helpful when we're mindful of our language. May I ask for your flexibility 3 minutes? Thank you. So, watch your thoughts. They become words. Watch your words. They become actions. Watch your actions. They become habit. Watch your habits. They become character. Watch your character. It becomes your destiny. How many of you all have read Paul's book? Awesome. If you have not, I encourage you to read it. Maybe use it as a study guide. I'm going to read this because I think that this is really powerful. We're throwing money at all these different projects, and when we can support character education, it makes a difference. Character matters. There is no anti-poverty tool we can provide for, I'm going to say,
I'd like you to consider it now. Because if you go online and you type in early bird, that is going to give you the early bird registration fee. And it's good just for you all as a gift from CEP through next Friday. So write that down. And the last thing I want to do is leave you with a water trick. We all come into the world with all of the virtues in us and potential. And then some things happen.
Perhaps we're born into an alcoholic family. Maybe we've been abused. Maybe we have a special learning style. We get bullied. Things happen. And we kind of lose who we are. Gets clouded. We can't go back and pull out all of those things that happened to us, nor would we want to. However, when we remember to speak the language of virtue, acknowledging one another for the gifts that we have, instead of shaming and blaming, guiding and thanking, what happens is not only do we get that purity back from when we were first born, but we are even fuller, stronger, more authentic people. Thank you all for your enthusiasm.
Yeah, that was great. I love it. It's like a steal.
What did you love? No, just kidding.